All right, the balancing act. That was the what was discussed and said by Dutch Lady Milk Industries Berhad's new managing director Ranjit Kaur, as she said, as she navigates an environment of high raw material prices and also the dairy company's mission to nourish Malaysians with affordable products. And also in November last year, she said that the company has to focus on responsibility to shareholders and to deliver profitability at the same time to nourish Malaysians with affordable dairy nutrition and the prices of products they produced. And the core mission of the organization is to achieve that balance 8 months down the road. What has Dutch Lady achieved and what is strived to be? Joining us this morning is Managing Director herself, Ranjit Kaur. Good morning, Ranjit. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here.
First of all, it has been 1 year since you assumed the role. How has it been? What are some of the challenges that you can share with us?
No, indeed. I think thanks for that question. But I've been in Dutch Lady Milk Industries for actually 10.5 years now. So I'm very familiar with the industry, and I love dairy and I love milk. And yes, I've been on the management team since 2018. And yes, I just celebrated my 1-year anniversary as taking up the helm as the managing director. I'm a Malaysian myself, so it's a very proud moment also to be leading the #1 dairy company in Malaysia. And actually, we are as old as Malaysia. We've been in Malaysia since 1963, so 59 years. So we have a huge responsibility. And I think any company today are facing multiple challenges. Right. I think what really guides us, as what you mentioned, is our core purpose. Our purpose is to nourish our planet and people in every stage of life. And I think why that is important is, we have a big responsibility to nourish our people, nourish our nation, and whatever challenges come, we are guided by our purpose. So it actually makes decision-making pretty easy when you have a very strong purpose on your hand. I mean, for example, you speak about challenges, and I remember day 2 as the MD, it was MCO 3.0, right? So it
must be tough for you.
Yes. It was interesting, but we've learned. It was the third one, so we straight away got into the mode, and the principles we followed were very simple. The first principle is focus on the primary processes, and what that means is the whole organization is mobilized behind ensuring that we continue to run our factories and all the backward integration, and the ability to ensure that we keep our products on the shelves to nourish the nation. And everyone else was supporting that. So that is the first principle, whatever we need to do to make that happen. And the second principle, of course, is to keep our people safe. So what do we need to do to ensure that our people are safe? And I'm happy to share, and very happy that the government also recognized us as part of the essential. And we've never stopped even one day since the world changed with the pandemic in March 2020. So I want to also thank my team and my people. So they were so brave to when no one knew what was going on, and we've continued to do that. So that was, I guess, a memorable challenge, day 2 on the job. But like I said, if you keep the purpose strong and close, actually decision-making becomes really easy as a management team, as even in the board. And maybe another moment which is quite interesting to reflect on, we ended the year also with the floods, right? So the floods in December. And there, I think, of course, we had disruptions in our supply chain, we had damages. But I think what was more worrying for me is 22 of our own employees were affected. They had to relocate. And again, keeping people safe, focusing on the primary processes, you just click into this gear. But I think that was also a sign that, apart from being a nourishing company, we also need to nourish the planet and do right for the planet. So again, if you go back to the purpose, nourishing our planet and people in every stage of life has been that beacon or that light that guides us in all that we do.
Ranjit, you assume your new role in the midst of unprecedented, once in a century pandemic. What do you learn from this experience?
I think everybody is
learning something, isn't it?
It's a new for everyone.
Exactly, and I'm actually an economics grad, right? And it's interesting because it has never happened in history. I think it's not just a pandemic, right? And of course now everyone's talking about the inflation, unprecedented inflation. Everyone's talking about supply chain, unprecedented supply chain problems. Yeah, and there's a lot of things going on. So indeed, it's a very interesting, I would say, moment. And my sense is, we just need to learn how to live in this new normal. Yeah, and I think although yes, you can always look at all the difficulties that this has caused us, but I like to look at what it gave us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on the other flip side, with the pandemic, we have now accelerated the way of working virtually.
Yes.
Yeah, that hybrid way of working. We've never been able to do that before. So and now today, you can have multiple meetings across the world.
Digital
easily.
adoption, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that digital adoption is really there. I think on the other hand, it makes us more agile. How do we keep changing with the times? And like I said, if you have that core purpose strong and center, I think that really helps to make what I do worthwhile. So if you ask me, yes, it's been challenging. It's unprecedented, but what wakes me up every morning is the fact that I have a very strong purpose to enable, to nourish our nation by leading this wonderful company and making sure we do our part. It's our responsibility.
I love women empowerment topic. I have to ask this question because you are the second female CEO for Dutch Lady Milk Industries. What is your management style and also philosophy in a sense?
Yeah. Yes, I get the question a lot, and I'm very proud to be a female leader and a Malaysian female leader as well. I think I would like to first start with my personal purpose. Yes. So I shared with you the purpose of the company, and now I'm going to share with you my personal purpose. So me as Ramjit, my core purpose is to energize others and to enable everyone to reach their full potential. That's who I am, irrespective of the role I play at home, in the office, and with my friends and my family. It's landed on my strengths. I'm a person, who likes to bring a lot of energy to the room. It's really what makes me who I am.
Yes.
And to enable everyone to reach their full potential is also then ensuring that we grow together as a team. So that is my personal purpose, and that's what guides me to what I do. Now, if we translate that, and what's lovely is, my personal purpose and the purpose of the organization has a wonderful synergy, and that's when magic happens.
Yes.
Right, and that's what keeps me going. That's why I wake up every day and do what I do. While at the same time, what we do internally is also we have embarked on what we call the 3A culture, the alphabet A. So the first A is around agility. Yeah, and agility is a journey that actually we at DLMI have been going on since 2019. And actually that's helped us a lot because the pandemic hit in 2020. And actually that mindset of being agile and using and test and learn and failing fast and going in small steps really helped us through the pandemic, and we continue to do so. The second A is accountability.
Yes.
And accountability is so important. Because as you know, we are a large organization. And if everyone has their own accountability close to their hearts, decision making is brought down the organization, and you can then move fast in the right way. And the last A is appreciation. I think this goes back, you hear a lot about how people burn out and all these things that is happening. And I think we were also reflecting, in these times, and if there's one thing that you said what the pandemic has taught us, is to appreciate. And appreciation is not just about, monetary, whatever. It's also about recognizing people. It's about giving positive feedback when it's deserved. And this triple A, so agility, accountability, and appreciation, is the culture that that we are embarking on as an organization, which of course is rooted under the foundation of trust and respect. So that's how I run the company.
Ramjit, there's a new manufacturing hub in Bandar Anstek Negeri Sembilan. Will be a world-class Industry 4.0 facility. What will be so special about the Industry 4.0 dairy factor? And maybe you can add on what gonna happen to the current
Okay.
factory in PJ that have been operating like 60 years, if I'm not mistaken? Yeah.
Yes. Now, thanks for that question. And indeed, this has garnered a lot of attention in the media. So yes, we have announced we are investing more than 400 million to build our new manufacturing facility at Bandar Enstang. And this is a sign that we are interested in the nation building.
Yes.
Yeah, the commitment that we have, and actually we are part of Royal Friesland Campina, that's our majority shareholder from the Netherlands. That commitment is being given there, and it makes me so proud that we continue to see Malaysia as a growth market and invest in the nation. So, and then I come to Industry 4.0. So, Industry 4.0 is it's a very new space. But it's not uncommon. So it's actually, if you think about it, we had the Industrial Revolution throughout the century.
Correct.
And every turn of the 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, what it does is it just makes a lot of things more efficient. It upskills people, and it enables us to drive efficiencies and output. So the implementation of IR 4.0, it's things you would imagine from an IT perspective, right? It's Internet of Things. It is data and cloud system. It's about how can we use things to improve our sustainability agenda, to reduce energy, to reduce efficiencies, and many more, automation, augmented reality, and all these things form over there. But if we take it then to what it means to us as a dairy company, we are here as a manufacturing of a food item. And you can imagine in your mind, I think you can see how we cook the milk, pack the milk, and it sort of goes through the stream.
Yes.
And and by the way, yes, in the new site we will have a Dutch Lady Experience Center, so you will be able to come and
So we get
visit
experience.
us in the
Okay.
future.
Right.
So
Okay.
look out for that. But indeed, so today, if we have a machine breakdown, we will only know it when the machine breaks down. And then what happens is you have to stop the line. You have a lot of wastages because maybe your milk is waiting, and milk is a natural product. It cannot keep too long. And then you don't know, sometimes you have the parts, sometimes you don't have the parts. And by the time you get started again and the running of the machine again, you have lost X amount of output and efficiencies. Now, with IR 4.0, because of the sensors and the way that it can detect the big data, it can do predictive maintenance. So what it means is it will detect whether it's temperature, vibration, pressure, and all the different gauges. It can trigger before the machine breaks down, because you cannot see what's inside. But all these tools can, and then it triggers, right? And then it sends a flag, hey, Mr. Engineer, I think you need to check line A, this part, something doesn't seem
From
right.
back to worse.
So you fix it before it becomes a problem. And you can imagine that then improves efficiency. And all of us know with efficiencies, you bring down costs. When you bring down costs, you're able to then pass it on to the consumers with affordable dairy nutrition.
More productivity.
Yes, and there's many more. There's things like using augmented reality and cloud computing, so people can do, let's say, R&D from anywhere in the world, and then they can see how things are being done using Oculus or whatever, all this new technology, new tools in order to do that. But I think what's more important is what is our role as DLMI by being an IR 4.0 factory. And we work very close with MIDA, and the term that is used is we are a lighthouse. And it's a beautiful terminology. You think about it. So we will become an Industry 4.0 factory. When we become the factory, we become this lighthouse that lights up all the industries that are connected to us from a backward and forward. So when we raise, everyone that is connected to us, because we have many suppliers, we have many warehousing, everybody needs to improve. And that's that beacon of light that we become to improve the nation's journey of becoming IR 4.0. And I think that, again, is a huge responsibility, but it's a very exciting journey. And yes, so you were talking about then what happens, and maybe so we are still on this journey. We are expecting to, and it takes a long time to build a factory. We are doing it in phases, and we will finally complete somewhere in 2024. So it's still some time to go. And yes, the current site, which is a very iconic site, I agree. Everyone knows the Dutch Lady factory in Section 14. We actually have sold the land.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've sold the land. It's because the zoning has changed. When we started in 1963, yeah, as old as Malaysia, that was an industrial zone. Today, the city is upon us, and with the change in the zoning, you know, it's also our responsibility to move, and we have maximized. We cannot grow anymore on that side. And actually, it was quite nice because we sold this land now in the city, and we used the proceeds, and that's why last year our financial results was very good, but it was because of the land sale. It's a one-off. We're using that money to fund the build in Anstag. And Anstag, when we start, it's going to already be double the capacity, and we have land to double again. So we get 4 times the size. And I think that goes back to the testament that we're committed to invest in this country, invest in nation building, and invest in this wonderful dairy industry for the nutrition of the nation and the region. So we are also looking to be a hub for Asia. So Anstag is in the largest dairy halal hub in the country. We are already exporting to some markets like Singapore, Brunei. So we want to see this also as an opportunity to become a hub for the region as well. Yes.
I want to show this data first, if you can bring on the iPad. This is the products from a global dairy trade. This is one of the raw materials needed to produce the your product, basically. If you look at the skim milk powder, the price right now is 4,063. Correct me if I'm wrong. 4,063 per ton, $1 per ton. This is the cost right now. I want to ask you, Ramjit, because Malaysians, especially M40, B40, like us, you know, are facing significantly higher food prices. You know, how will Dutch Lady Milk raise? Will you raise your price because your input cost is basically higher, significantly higher and all that?
Yes, thanks for that question, and I'm sure that's one of the top questions that is asked in any business situation. And it is also the top topic that is discussed in any boardroom in any company. And I think it goes back to these unprecedented times, right? The inflationary pressure is hitting us everywhere. You've covered a lot of segments when it comes to pricing, and indeed, I think it is a reality. The global inflationary prices is something that we've not seen ever. In fact, those data that you have, you can even project back 5 years, 10 years. You will see that it's always at the high. It's at the highest level it's been. So of course, as a company, remember we have that purpose that is strong to us. So the purpose of nourishing our nation with affordable dairy nutrition. On the other hand, like what you in your opening, that balancing act. On the other hand, we also are a large public listed company, and we have a responsibility for delivering profits to our shareholders. And I think it's balancing in this too, that pricing is always one of the topics. And it's not easy. And yes, we also have been hit. The prices have been at an all-time high. And not only the dairy raw materials, even supply chain disruption, logistic costs, it's hitting us everywhere, packaging material, the price has gone up everywhere. So yes, we've had to take some price adjustments over the last year actually, but of course we do it balancing the two, the purpose of nourishing and our commitment to the shareholders. And so far, I think we've been okay. I think that we've taken small increases, different parts of the portfolio at different times. And of course, you're going to ask me, what next? Of course, we have to continue to monitor, right? And we have to continue to monitor. But I think one of the strategies we use internally is also what can we do to optimize cost at every part of the P&L, right? So it's not just about the costs that you try to optimize, because we still need to provide nutrition. So our product is still the same, nutritious. We didn't compromise on the product. Safety, quality, always number one. People number one. But I think it's what can we do from revenue growth management? What can you do from a mix perspective? So all that helps. What can you do from a media optimization perspective? What can you do from the people costs? Now with the new technologies, maybe we don't need to travel so much. So how can you use and that consciousness of cost is in every part of the organization, and that goes back to the accountability culture that we drive.
Yeah.
So each and every one of us have a responsibility to make sure we balance this dilemma, let's call it that way.
Yeah. Less than 2 minutes. Lastly, the outlook of dairy market in Malaysia with the new normal that we are experiencing right now. Your thoughts on the outlook?
Yeah, so I use the term cautiously optimistic to talk about the outlook for the dairy industry. Why I use that? Let me start with optimistic first, because I think the demand for dairy continues to be high. We are a strong brand, we're the #1 brand, there's a lot of high trust, and Malaysians have also become more aware of the nutrition need, with the pandemic and all that. So nutrition is, of course, very high on the agenda. And personally, I'm a mother myself. We get a lot of studies. The nutritional, and if you ask me about the outlook, the nutritional standards is alarming in Malaysia. 1 out of 3 children don't consume breakfast every day. 70% are deficient in calcium. 84% deficient in vitamin D. 21.8% of our children are stunted. And all these affect long-term nation growth and building. That's 1 in 5 Malaysian children are stunted. So you ask me, optimistic because there's the demand, people want to consume us, and there's still so much to do. Cautious because of all the unprecedented hits that we are getting. And therefore, like we've spoken a lot about it, how do we continue to monitor and really that balancing act and managing it on a month-to-month basis. And just hope there's no more further shocks if things sort of being okay, but you never know. And that's where the agility, accountability, appreciation, and keeping true to our purpose will help guide us through this unprecedented times and this journey ahead.
All right. Ramjit, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I really appreciate. Haris is the biggest fan of Dutch Lady. If you look at his preach, all Dutch Lady brand. I'm pretty sure.
Thank you.
And sebenarnya Najib, kalau kita nak melihat dalam industri ini, sudah tentu kita nak menelitinya bagaimana kalau Qatar lah kita mengambil contoh. Balatna daripada negara itu terpaksa mengimport masuk produk sekarang ni mereka mengeksport pula ke negara-negara. Jadi penting juga untuk kita melihat satu industri sektor yang cukup penting dalam pertumbuhan negara sebenarnya.
Seperti yang Ramjit sebutkan juga tadi, it's very important because data-data yang dibentangkan oleh Ramjit sebentar tadi seperti malnutrition dan juga terbantut pertumbuhan dan sebagainya penting untuk kita melihat. Inilah pada akhirnya security makanan kalau kita boleh sebutkan juga peranan besar dimainkan oleh Dutch Lady sendiri. Baik, terima kasih Ramjit Kaur yang merupakan Managing Director untuk Dutch Lady Milk Industries bersama dengan kita. Kita akan rangkumkan semua ini di laman web kami astroawani.com. Sekian saja, saya Najib Arif dan juga rakan setugas.
Saya Haris Ashraf Hasnan. Salam hormat.